One of the core principles of personal AI is this like data ownership element of it. Is this not taking shortcuts to really truly realize the fullest potential and the vision of what personal AI should. And those principles are no memory is shared and the data ownership belongs to the people. And it has to be scalable for millions and millions, if not billions of people, right? So how can we create a model that is super efficient, super scalable, super friendly to individual people, that does not depend on any single platform that exists out there, and almost make it an asset for them, right? So we think about personal AI is not just a service or a platform, it's an asset for every person because technically they are capturing their memories almost like your photo album at home, and this model is essentially like replicating you. So the technical challenge are many. It starts off with understanding or having a consistent data structure for your memory itself, right? How do you take all this unstructured data that exists in your life historically as well as an ongoing basis and then structure it and make it user centric instead of platform centric, right? So, for example, we all have presence on the internet in the last 10 years in multiple different social media, multiple different platforms, multiple different softwares, if you will, multiple different clouds. But there is no single entity or there is no single space that is captured for ourselves, that captures our individual thoughts, even including our nodes is dispersed into multiple different applications. So majority of the challenge is how can you accumulate and converge all these data sources that is sliced and diced into multiple different platforms and make it user centric. So that's one challenge. That's our transformers that we built around building your memory. We call it memory stack transformers. Fast forward today, we have a set of tools, APIs, if you will, which we will be open sourcing very soon, that anybody can plug in any sort of data source that is authored content and make it yours, make it into this memory data that belongs to them, right? So that's like one of the challenges. The memory is also multimodal. So in other words, we took an approach where we designed the entire system around human, like how their experiences were. We capture experiences on a day-to-day basis, minute by minute. Every memory is different. Like as I speak right now, I'm creating some digital presence of myself, like with my voice and with my thoughts. So those are convert into like this time-bound memory units around one person. So over a period of time, like let's say 10 years of personal AI, your life, you'll have 10 years worth of memory, right? That kind of almost tries to simulate your life, if you will. And that is also reflected in the models. So in other words, if you do have an understanding or a topic of you talk about a specific subject and your opinions and views on a particular topic 5 years ago may be entirely different than what it is right now, right? So the models will be able to keep up with the understanding of like your own development over a period of time and tries to mimic tries to reflect who you are in that moment of time. So yeah, I mean, I can go on in terms of like the technical challenges, but kudos to my CTO Sharon Zhang, who had the foresight of not entirely relying on then large language models back in 2020 to solve this problem. I took an entirely different approach, which is like super cost effective, super scalable. The models has capable to run on edge devices as well. And now we have a good complement alongside with LLM because LLM has its use cases in terms of solving for general knowledge. I think it's a perfect complement into what we are doing, and maybe this is the right time for us to go to the market as well, where everybody has their own PLM models, but there are LLMs as well for internet access and service access. For the privacy, there are two different avenues that we think about, right? One of the core theses is security is different from privacy, right? Security is about data leaks, like how protective the data is from bad actors. Privacy for me is about data ownership and it's about data control, right? Do you have control about what data is going into your memory? Do you have control on what data needs to be forgotten from your memory? And do you have control that that memory is not being used for any other purpose other than training your own model for yourself, right? So then it comes down to the execution, which is we touched on a memory belongs to an identity, and that identity could be a person, could be an organization, or a brand, right? And that memory is not shared, so everybody has their own specific index between other people's memory as well. So there is no scenario in the architecture where the data gets shared. I think that's one of the core fundamental architecture principles, if you will. And the second thing is that data is also not used for any other purpose other than training your model, right? One of the key focus areas for us is also about like training this unique model only on your data. So this memory is not bind with like other data just to have more tokens in the model for it to perform better. We have other techniques for the performance, but not necessarily combining the data. And pretty much all of this is in the control of the user. So they can see the data, they can view the data. Typically, when algorithms are created, data is almost like back in the database. You don't see the nitty gritty core data structures that is accessible to you, right? You just basically get the service and you interact with the platform. We don't do that. We actually expose. People may not use it in the raw form, but it gives you a level of transparency. It gives you a level of where is this response coming from? What is the data is accountable for this thing? And if people do want to forget some things within their memory that they don't want AI to be trained on ongoing basis, they can. And that's the beauty in our small models as well. It is continuously trained. It's not once it is pre-trained, you're done with it. As the memory goes in, it's getting updated almost every few minutes.